So, welcome everybody to this episode of the Body Harmonix Podcast. I'm Renee McLaughlin, and today I have a story that I just know will be an incredible inspiration for all of you. You know, we are living in these times. Listen, we don't have to go on and on about the fear, crazy, unstable times that we're living in right now. And sometimes it can just seem like there's just no way out. Like it just feels really dark and heavy. And then you might get yourself a diagnosis, or somebody that you love may get a really bad diagnosis. And I say that because what does the word diagnosis even say? Die and gnosis, and gnosis is knowing. Think about that for just a moment for all of us who run because we really need that diagnosis. Well, that's something that happened to one of my dear, dear friends, Rob Knieriem. Rob and Cheryl and I have been friends for many, many years. And when this happened to Rob, well, I'm going to let him talk about his experience. But I want you all to understand that while Rob had a very dire diagnosis, you can see, and this was how many years ago, Rob?
May of 2016 was when I was told.
Right. And yet, look at him. He is like this fountain of health. So I want you all to know that when he starts telling it, and you're all like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And so, Rob, I'm going to bring you up here and just let you begin to talk about what happened to you. This is fun. Now it's not moving over. Go ahead, Rob.
All right, I'll go ahead. So, in May of 2016, 2 days after our anniversary, I was diagnosed with a very rare stage 4 squamous cell urethral cancer. Um, at the time, there was 600 documented cases in the world. They said that I had an 8% chance of survival if I did surgery. Um, and chemo, and it just changed your life. I mean, all of a sudden you're like stage 4, right? Not knowing what the stages were, but you realize stage doesn't mean you're going to die. Stage just means, okay, where did the cancer start? Where is it now? So stage 1, stage 4 is just all over your body. I was in my urethra, lymph nodes in my hips. And I am so grateful for my primary doctor that told me to go see a urologist, because I just went to the doctor because I was getting up all night to pee. And, hey, give me the Flomax. And he's like, go to the urologist, had an x-ray, and he came back and said, don't go online, don't look at this. You are just riddled. And we found out from the x-ray that my urethra was 90% blocked. Yes. So immediately it's like, get a super puper catheter. So it's a catheter in your belly. He says, because just in case you go to the emergency room because you can't urinate, first thing they're going to do is put a catheter in there. And that's the last thing you need. Sent me to Moffitt. Can I say who I went to, or is?
I wouldn't.
Okay. Went to a large cancer medical center, and their diagnosis was, since there was 600 documented cases in the world, there is not going to be any medical studies because it's a 1%er. Their treatment protocol was do a 24/7 chemo drip, go home for 3 weeks, come back and do another So do that 3 times.
Mhm.
Then do major surgery, and then do radiation. And
Ooh.
I looked at him. I said, this doesn't resonate. I'm like, 3. You're talking 21 days of chemo. I Yeah. I said, by the second round, I'd either be dead or want to be dead. And I asked if there was another way. He said no. I pulled up a something that I found on the internet where a woman and a man in their 50s both had the same thing. They did a minor form of a chemo radiation protocol, and he said it's not going to work. I said, why? He said, because the tumor that was in me was larger than theirs. In my mind, is like, big deal, right? Let's try it. He said, no. He said, this is the only way you could overcome it. And if you don't do it, you'll be dead in 6 months.
Okay, so I'm going to stop you for just 1 second, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Can I stop you for 1 second? So those are the words that this doctor spoke over you. So I just want to, right. I mean, now we're not just talking about, oh, you have a wart, should we burn it off? Or, I mean, no, we're talking about imminent life, imminent death, and no, it's my way or not, knowing that his way was way over the top. He spoke those words over you. And so I just want people to understand that just because they speak these words over you, they don't have to land. They don't have to be your truth. They're some information, not your truth. Thanks, Rob, for letting me interrupt you. Go ahead. Amazing. I can't even imagine. I cannot imagine, and I don't want to ever have to experience it. So go ahead.
So I looked at him and I said, isn't it true that chemo and radiation can cause the same type of cancer or different cancer to surface 3 to 5 years later? His answer was, we will deal with it when it happens. It wasn't, there's like Jim Carrey, there's a chance.
Right,
It's going to happen. And I looked at him, I says, I got long-term and short-term goals. I said, cancer is not a short-term goal. 3 to 5 years is I'm going to be recovering, and then I'm going to have to fight the fight all over again. There's got to be another way. And Cheryl and I left there crying. I mean, even his PA pulled us into one of the rooms and was so compassionate to us. And she was like, I understand. And, the doctor said, I need to know in 3 weeks, and that's when Cheryl just got into warrior mode. And I know one of the things that she shared with me was Ty Bollinger's Truth About Cancer. And my defining point was, what does chemo and radiation do to your body? And it does not, it might shrink the tumor, but it's never healed it, right? And it causes so much damage in your body. My urologist then sent me to a radiologist and a oncologist. So I'm praying to God in the universe, and I intertwine those two all the time, praying to God in the universe to give me a sign. And I mean, we looked at going to Mexico, Arizona, California, Dominican Republic. There's so many different places. Now, mind you, 2016, that was relatively early. There's so much more today.
Yeah.
And I go into the radiologist's office, and he comes into the office, and he's like, you won't believe what I just read. And Yale published. Now, mind you, Yale published in June, same month that I went into Moffitt, the medical center. how to cure squamous cell urethral cancer without surgery. I'm like, whoa. So I showed him the protocol that I shared with the medical center, and he says, this is very, very similar. So I'm like, okay. And I talked to him about immunotherapy, and immunotherapy was still too early. I talked to him about target stuff, and I just knew that, alternative takes a long time. And I have to say that after the urologist did the biopsy, the tumor doubled its size in 3 weeks. I was in pain. It was just pushing against the wall. So, I had a donut around it if I laid on my stomach. Oh yeah, it was bad. And I'm like, I need, everything it's hurting. That following Monday, I go to the oncologist. Guess what I read over the weekend?
There's your
And
sign.
I pulled it up and I said, this? And he goes, yes. He goes, where did you get that? And I came home and I looked at Cheryl and I said, it's a sign. It's got to be a sign. I said, I know that chemo and radiation is the devil in me, right? I said, but every we all need mommy's little helper, right? Sometimes you just need that aspirin or that Tylenol or that whatever, right? And in my heart, in my mind, I'm like, okay, Cheryl, I'm going to do this as a jump start. And as soon as the tumor starts residing, I will quit and let the healthy body take over. That was in my mind. That was the way and I tell people, you've got to believe in your path. Do whatever it takes. But if you don't believe it, it's not good. Your outcome is not going to be as great. What is it? Plethora effect. So when you get that sugar pill, right? Why do people get healed and they just had sugar water? Well,
Yep, it's the placebo.
placebo. Thank you.
But again, it just all goes right down to belief. What's your belief? And so I say this also out to everyone. You have to make that decision for yourself. And when Rob just said, I know that cancer and radiation are the devil for him, that was his feeling. Now, listen, there is, and what Rob is saying, and I think we agree, at least I agree, this is not division. This isn't only medical and only natural. There is a place for everything. That's why it's called integrative, right? And I know my dear friend Cheryl did not want any of that. She is so dedicated to her natural path, but you stood by your guns on what you felt. And then Cheryl said, okay, am I correct about that?
Not right away.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's
It's
that
tough when your
is
loved one, decides something you don't think is right, and knowing, now hindsight's 2020. Right now we know, but in that moment we don't know, right? We don't know. Go ahead, Cheryl. I interrupted you. I'm so sorry.
no, it's fine. I mean, when he was diagnosed, it goes through your mind like, oh my God, this is my partner. I want him to live forever. And so when we went to that cancer place that was loaded with donuts and cookies and it had that bad aura all around it, it just reaped death. We walked out of there and disappointed. Yeah, we cried on the way home. I drove and I said, this is not how this story's going to end. Are you with me? Are you with me? Like, let's dive into why this is happening to you and what we can do. So that's when I suggested we watch the first episode about truth about cancer and everything that it does, how chemo came to be from Rockefeller and all that. But his eating habits, his mindset, he was stressed out. And so he had to change a lot of things to be able to get to that point where he wanted to do the work. I mean, I could do the work for him, but he needed to want to do that. And we had deep conversations, and family members were like, we said, this is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to supplement, we're going to juice, we're going to eat well, we're going to meditate, we're going to do all the things that we know to do. And then he just he took it from there, and he since has become one of the most spiritual people that I know, and that I'm proud to be around, because he chose what I could present to him, and some things were yes, some things were no, and he really listened to his body, because sometimes when you sit in silence, it'll tell you so much, right? So he would just be, he was doing oil, so he was like, high, like many hours of the day, which was fine. I was his caretaker, and I watched it, and I was just. And my brother was sick at the same time. So you go into that caretaker mode, which just really, I had my own health issues. I had mild stroke, I don't know, years ago. So it just, all the health things that I knew to do, I just presented to him, and he chose what felt right and what didn't feel right. Was I sometimes like, oh, just do it? Yeah, of course I was. But at the end, he chose what was important to him, what he knew in his soul and his heart. And he chose right. So he's here 9 years later, going strong, and I'm so grateful for it.
So I do have to say, and one of the reasons why I wanted to do it this week is it's a 9-year anniversary. This week, when I found out I was NED. Right? So it's like, it just, everything happens for a reason, right? Even Cheryl's friend, she introduced us to this, I call him a spiritual energy healer, where, he was in Bronson, Missouri. He would put me in this portal. He talked to me. He said, I got to get rid of your stress. I got to raise your vibrations. Now, mind you, you're stage 4. I'm like open. It's like, I'm going to try anything, right? Well, 2.5 weeks into it, he told me that the tumors were down 50%. I'm like, okay. Went to the doctors, and they're WTF. What the flip? And that is when I'm like, I am with you 100%, because they didn't say, see, the Eastern medicine is Western medicine is working. They were like, what are you doing? And I tried to talk to one of the doctors about energy healing and frequency healing, and he was like, well, there's no proof. And I just wanted to say,
excuse me, what do you want?
I walked out.
You don't want to see the proof, right? You want to see this, and that's okay. That's okay. That's that's
I'm
okay,
like, have you heard of prayer groups healing? Oh, they're miracles, right? No, it's all frequency, right?
It's all frequency.
This is where the little tension happened between Cheryl and I, because she was like, you promised, you said that when the tumors start going down, you were going to quit. In my heart, I'm like, squamous cell cancer is a very aggressive cancer. 2.5 weeks is too short of a time. I am afraid that if I quit, what if it comes back in a vengeance, right? And I'm like, I don't want to be there. So I said, let's just finish out the month. And in my humorous self, I look back at it, it's like Paradise by the Dashboard Light. It's like, I promise to love you to the end of time. And then the next sentence is now I'm praying for the end of time. So the next 17 days were the worst, darkest days of my life. I pray that if tomorrow is anything like today, in man fashion, because we don't like pain, please take me in my sleep, and I don't care about waking up. I'm just in that much pain, sick, just really, really bad. And I say that if it wasn't for my support system and my belief, and I did have a mantra when I go back to Jim Carrey. It's like, so there is a chance. I figured, okay, when he went to Mary and said, can we go out? And she said, yeah, there's a 1 in a million chance. And he's like, I got a chance. I'm thinking 1 in a million is better than 8%. I got, I got this. And
What a great
I,
way to look at it.
I just had to believe. It was like the mindset. That is when I started really, really realizing that the mindset is so, so huge. It just didn't dawn on me, until you see it happening. There's the Joe Dispenza stories out there, and right. And then you start thinking about the power of the mind. You have, I tell people you have a situation at work and they change things. So you could bitch and complain, be cathartic, you know, or no, you can bitch and complain, and 2 weeks later you're still stumbling over the change. You're negative Nancy. Your energy is so no one wants to be near you. Or bitch and complain, be cathartic, and then work with the change. 2 weeks later, it's like you're back to your old self, right? So, um,
Wow.
so after so in week 5, this my energy guy, spiritual guy, said the tumors are down 75 and 90%. And I'm like, okay. So we went and got a test. So mind you, I was May of 16 got diagnosed, started everything in June. August 15th was when I went to the doctors and said, no more. And I took another test. The week of September 21st was when the results came in and came back NED. So stage 4 to 0 in somewhere around 13 weeks.
Wow.
And I
Wow.
tell people, going back to what we were talking about before, integrative, I say that the God in the universe allowed my protocols, which were musical instruments, my orchestra to play a beautiful symphony. Would I take out one of those little things? No, because I don't know if they synergized well together. But I believed in all of that.
Were you never
Cheryl,
used to? Sorry to
what?
interrupt. You never used to believe in all of that. Like it was, that this is how it came to be that you are now because you believed in it and you didn't believe before that.
Oh, when I was working for a food manufacturer, and I'm like, you know, I'm kind of eating healthy. I play basketball twice, 3 times a week. I go to I work out, and you know, it when it's my turn, it's my turn. Until they say it's your turn, and you're like, oh flip.
Oh my. Well, and also, I think this really goes to the idea that as human beings, especially when we're in that middle stage of our life, right? Where we're raising kids and we're figuring out who we are and we've got a house and a mortgage and a family and and all the things, like we're just surviving. Well, we're just like doing what we need to, what we've been programmed to say this is what we do. There's no time to go, "Oh, well, let me just see, should I juice today?" Like, you're not in that mindset. So it's so easy for us to listen to the programming, to watch TV with all the drug ads and the food ads and the sugar ads and all of that. And it's just being programmed right into our brains. We're not stopping to discern it because we got other priorities, right? Until something happens that brings us to our knees. And then it's like, so all that rationalization that I did before, Oh, yeah, it's okay. I'm eating the hot dogs. Oh, just this one hot dog. And it's okay that I'm selling the hot dogs because, that's what I've been trained, all that. We don't stop to discern, right? Because we're not in that phase of life and I think it's even the same with any kind of addiction. Lifestyle, our lifestyle habits are addictions. I know I have them.
Yep.
And and they're really being pointed out to me in a big way now as well, and it's like, okay, well, am I willing to go through what it takes to get off it? And if I'm feeling okay and everything's good, I'm pretty not all that motivated to go through that. When you're like, you've got 2 weeks to live, it's like, bring on the juice.
So if I could just say that is so true, because I was a addicted smoker from the age of 15 on. I was a pack a day. It was my friend. It was my enemy. It was my go-to before dinner, after dinner, before breakfast. And it didn't even matter. It was my friend because it just was there. And the month before I had the stroke, and I was living in Georgia near you, Renee, a month before, I said, you got to quit. This isn't serving me anymore. And so when I had the stroke, and I had tried many times, we had tried many times before to quit smoking. So the day that I had the stroke, I was in the hospital. I said to Rob, throw them away. I'm done. So I wouldn't have probably quit if that had not happened to me and was presented to me. So people say, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm like, don't be, because that just opened my eyes and made me so aware of what was I doing to my body. And that's what started my health journey from that point. And I started looking at things. What am I consuming? What am I doing that's making this happen to me?
I so remember. I remember that whole time, and it was just like, but again, so doesn't this also again go to mindset that, um, and Cheryl, when you had that stroke, it didn't really. That was I kind of also like it like we've planned in life choice points, right? And each of you had planned, I believe that we plan a lot of these choice points before we come in to wake us up at that period of time. That was a big wake up call for you, right? Because before, yeah, I can quit, yeah, it's okay, but I'm still, in my early 40, whatever.
I'm doing my T-tap. I'm all healthy.
Right, I'm doing this good, and this, so that'll offset this bad thing. And again, even here, we're talking morals. We're making it moralistic and really taking morals and morality and good and bad and healthy and out of the picture. And maybe reframing all of this is just kind of coming to me, reframing it all as frequency. That's it. Is it a low frequency that's bringing you down? Because when you're there, then your frequency will attract that frequency.
Yeah.
Or is it something that will help you raise your frequency and or hold it at a higher level? Then that is something that would be appropriate for you at that time. Right? And that way it's not, oh, it's good, it's bad, you're good, you're bad, that, all that moral stuff. So, right, Rob? I mean, you had something, a really low level frequency. You needed perhaps whatever that was originally to get that. You knew it, you felt it, and then spent how long then from there? So now it's off, but now it took a while. You had to then really commit to rebuilding yourself back up.
So to your point, knowing that I had the chemo and the radiation in me, I knew I had to detox. And I started detoxing, and I went backwards. I had a bluish gray look to me as far as what my neighbor was telling me. I couldn't get up. I couldn't walk up steps. It was like, oh my goodness, what is going on? Now, did I do too much of the detox?
Right.
Maybe. But you know what? It was tough, and here, my mindset, I'm like, I just beat stage 4 cancer. So my head is up here. My body vibrations is up here. My body is like, oh, dude, So it was, people would say, I could hear your spirit, but when I look at your body, something's off, And at the time, it didn't click until, later when I was like, was it Herxing? I don't know. But I did do, yeah, it took me a long time. I can remember going to the beach and our friends would help me. I felt so bad. I have their arm and they're walking me into the water. I'm like, oh my God, I'm what, 60 years, 50 in the late 50s. And it's like, holy shoot, but, it was,
But
like
now
you
you're
said,
playing pickleball 3 times a week, and you're just strong and healthy, and you don't take a day for granted that you are alive. I know that every morning wake up with so much gratitude for everything that we've both been through, and we put our feet on the ground and just say thank you for another day.
that is one thing I say, a grounding prayer. Actually, my I say a grounding prayer because I can go to the bathroom. So that's my trigger. Every morning you got to go, right? So it's like, here's where I say my grounding prayer. And it's amazing that they say people that, you know, I don't want to say the word survive cancer, um,
Right.
but are beating it. And I don't know if that's the right word, but
How about loving it out of existence?
yep.
That whole idea too, Rob, sorry, I'm going to just stop you for 1 second and interject. It is one of the additional things. Now, granted, I don't have it, haven't had it, and didn't overcome it. So this is coming from somebody without that personal experience right now. The idea of everything being a war and a fight. And I don't know, and this might not resonate with anybody else, but for me, I'm really starting to look at even the health issues that I'm vaporizing. That whole idea of the war on drugs, the war on alcohol, the war against the people I don't like, everything's a friggin' war. We're busy fighting and resisting everything that's happening. Doesn't seem to be like the best way to do it, right? So maybe we can start to love ourselves. And as we do that, the frequency raises and it automatically goes away. And I wasn't criticizing, by the way, what you were saying at all, because it was for you a fight. No, there's no question.
Yep.
We can't even put a nice word on it. So I wasn't saying it for that. I was more almost verbalizing it for myself, to be honest with you, right? That idea of letting go, stopping all the resistance and doing more of an allowance, which I know you did anyway. You're right. Um,
Yep.
so just, yeah, going into the water, loving yourself, playing the things you love to play, and playing with the people that you love to play with. And you're just such an inspiration. You
Thank
really
you.
are. Yeah.
But going to the beach was amazing how, and there's 10 characteristics of people of cancer survivors, so to speak. There's a deep awakening, in the spiritual, in the healing, in the diet, in the supplements, and me walking the beach and then visualizing, the minerals from the quartz sand going up into my feet, cleansing me, and then breathing out the dark shit, right? Breathing in the salt air and breathing out the dark shit. Um,
Oh, yeah.
just that was not me. It was,
But
waking
see what I mean? Like, that wasn't a fight. That was you loving yourself back to health. That's my point. Like, even though we say that fight, that's not what you were doing. You loved yourself. You gratituded yourself. You joyed yourself, and continue to raise it. And when you walk into a room or you're around people, because I've been with you, it's just like it resonates to everybody, right? People come up to you. I know this. I've seen it. People just come up to you and just start talking. They don't even know why.
And Rob will talk to anybody who will listen. I'm sorry, Rob. I had to.
That's good. I deserve it, but it's.
Right.
But I
But
do.
that,
I have people come up to me and they're like, "You just have this glow about you." I just and I'm like looking at him, just going, "Really?" It's just I just had to come up to you, and it's like it makes me feel so cool, right? It's like, wow, is that what I'm doing? And it really isn't that hard to smile at people and say hello, and you never know what that simple hello can do for that person because you don't know where that person is at that time. No judgments. And going back to what you said before, I mean, everybody has. There's no one way to heal yourself, and what I've learned from Cheryl is that you you have to ask yourself, is this good for me? And there's things that it's like, try this. I'm like, nope, why not? I said, because you. Oops.
so you just froze. So I'll stop that video and edit it. Go ahead. What were you just about to
Oh,
say?
okay. So it's just a matter of just, especially men, we, that gut instinct. There's so many times a man would say, God, I knew that. I wish I would have went with my gut. We think things in so complex terms that it, we don't think that it's that easy until you start listening and going, let me give it a chance. And then you start seeing that, you know what? That first instinct it was right.
We were born with our own AI. People, oh, we've got to go to AI. We've got it. This is our GPS. This is our AI. We know everything. We have a portal to the field. We just have to learn how to go down, get still, breathe, and ask. And then listen. Ask and listen and not try to control it all and not to let all of this get in our head. Now, that all sounds so simple. And it isn't. It is. It
No.
is. We have to start to do it.
Yep.
Right. And until something major happens like that, I can't tell you how many people I've heard, whether it's cancer or whatever that big calamity is, and they'll say, thank God for that. I'm so glad I got. And now I'm thinking, okay, I get that. And absolutely, that is human nature. Maybe, you guys, I'm just going to leave you all with this. Maybe at this point in our evolution, we don't have to crash before we wake up. Maybe we can wake up through grace. Maybe we can wake up from Rob's story, from listening to what Rob and Cheryl, because she has her own version of that story, and it's so beautiful as well. Maybe we can ask for help. Maybe we don't have to do it by ourselves. Right? Maybe we can really slow down, sink into our hearts, ask the question and listen.
Yep.
Maybe we can do it now without the crash. Just a possibility. Rob, thank you, and Cheryl, so much
Thank
for
you.
coming on and sharing. And you guys, Rob is, as you can tell, he is so willing and wants to be of assistance. So if any of you are listening, perhaps you are going through your own cancer journey or really any of these types of dire or not. Right. If Rob's and Cheryl's energy is resonating, I'm going to leave in the show notes wherever you're seeing this with this contact. Feel free, please contact him. And Rob that's what he feels he's on the planet now to do, is to help, to assist, to be a beacon of light for whoever is drawn into the light.
We need
Even
the light
just
right
to
now.
say, you're not alone, that there is a chance that, other people have gone through this, and we all need some support. If it wasn't for my support system, that it would have been different. So
Right. What were you going to say, Cheryl, to end?
I don't remember. All I know is that we got to let go of the armor and let the light in. We all need the light.
Yep. We all need the light. Thank you both. Mwah, I love you both so much. Thank you for coming on and sharing.
We love
And
you. Thanks for having us.
thank you. And until next time, move freely, heal deeply, and flow with ease.